well wishes. Thank you very much. You know, the purpose of introduction is very important. It gives the credibility of the speaker and the presenter, especially for those who are listening to the speaker for the very first time. For those who are here for the very first time to listen to my language evaluation, it is time for you to unlearn and to learn or to relearn certain things. Because all along we may have heard wrong usage of words, mispronunciation of speakers, even radio announcers. Nobody is perfect. And we do not blame you. The reason being, all along we have heard the words being wrongly pronounced or words being wrongly used. First, the word of the day, thought. How many of you have used the word? Raise your hand. Not difficult to use, isn't it? Thank you very much for your support. All of you are very keen learners. The reason being, you have put into practice what you have picked up, and that is very important. Again, for those who are listening to me for the very first time, don't be put off by my facade. The first V, visual language. Visual language is about your dressing, your grooming, and non-verbal communication, hence facial expression. I'm not as intimidating, as fierce, unfriendly, and unapproachable as what you know. Hence, do not be intimidated by my feedback. I shall divide my feedback into two broad categories: language usage and words that illuminate. And what to eliminate? Notice these two words. Both begin with the same sound. Illuminate, I, eliminate, E. Different letters, but same sound. And that is what we call the use of alliteration. Alliteration is the repetition of the initial letters or sounds of consecutive words. It gives you the rhythm, very melodious and very harmonious. And both words rhyme. Rhyme is another tool. So these are language tools that we can use in the written communication as well as in the spoken language. It adds color, flavor, and glamour, and sometimes even humor. It was this German poet and scientist, Goethe, who once said that correction does much, but encouragement does more. So as the role of the language evaluator, it is not to make corrections to your language usage, but to offer you encouragement. To speak correctly as well as to speak clearly. Also to be aware, to be conscious of the correct usage of words, language, and correct pronunciation. First, language that illuminates. The speaker said, brilliant, balmy waters. You see the choice of these two words, these two adjectives. Brilliant, balmy waters. It creates the vivid imagery. And we can even bring ourselves, transport ourselves to that particular place. The water is not just clear water, not just water, but brilliant and balmy. Hence, very descriptive choice of words. And both words begin with letter B. Same letters, and that is what we call use of alliteration. The cruel reach of the waves, not just the big waves, the high waves, but the cruel reach of the waves. Very profound use of language. I like that. The terrain was too tough, and the headwind was too strong. What do you notice about these two groups of words? Terrain was too tough, and the headwind was too strong. Two groups of words, and that is what I call the use of harmony in duality. Wonderful. It takes effort to come up with such words and phrases. And again, the word too was repeated. Too tough, too strong. It gives the emphasis. The usage of repetition. For those who have read Martin Luther King's speech, I Have a Dream, he used the group of words, I have a dream, 9 times. And in his closing of the speech, he said, let freedom ring. Again, 9 times. Was it because he was at a loss in the use of words? No. Martin Luther King wanted to drive home, to drum in the message to the masses. I have a dream. Let freedom ring. So the use of repetition is very recommended. The use of creative language this afternoon is a bit lacking. I do not blame you. The reason being, we need to read voraciously, read extensively and expensively, widely. There is no shortcut in using choice of words. Read a lot. Listen to the better speakers. There is one journalist by the name of Cheong Suk Wai. She writes very well, and I would pick up a word or two that I've never come across. They are unfamiliar words, not new words. That's how I expand my vocabulary. So listen to the better speakers, and there are many out there. And the shortest way is to attend a formal course on creative writing. Even at the university in America, they have a course on creative writing. So much for the harvest. Second part of my feedback, areas for us to improve. And again, do not feel intimidated. Body language, there's only one body language. There is no plural, no body languages. When we are referring to two, whether two people, two teams, two groups, we use the words each other. Let's learn from each other. More than two, we say one another. We learn from one another. Try not to use Singlish. This is a very formal speaking environment, public speaking, Toastmasters. Try to use formal language. Singlish is an informal language. There is always a place for it. I do speak Singlish, but I have the ability to switch automatically. But some people would say, try not to speak Singlish. Otherwise, you may influence others, especially the younger ones. What do I mean? Come back then say. Typical Singlish, isn't it? Suggestion, we'll talk about it when I'm back, or when we are back together. As times go by, as time goes by. So this is what I call the juxtaposition and transposition of sounds or words. As time goes by, instead of as times go by. Twice this phrase was used. What are colleagues? All of you are working here. What are colleagues? Colleagues are your fellow workers, right? So when you say my fellow colleagues, the word fellow is redundant, unnecessary. My colleagues or my fellow workers. A lot of times, to me, the word times, the plural is not necessary. A lot of time, a lot of times. So which is which? Both can be used. Any guest here? All of you are working in Cisco, right? You're not? Are you working in Cisco?
Yes.
You are.
I'm new to this.
I'm the only guest. Am I welcome?
Yes.
Of course.
Otherwise I won't be here. So when you say, good evening, welcome guest, are there any unwelcome guests? Yes. Great gracious? No. So the word welcome again is not necessary. Guest. 6 years old. She is 6 years old. But when you use 6 years old as an adjective, which I call a compound adjective, 3 words combined into one, then we say a 6-year-old child. The S is not there. We don't say a 6 years old child. So it is a 6-year-old child. So 6-year-old, 3 words becomes an adjective, a compound adjective. And in the written form, you need to put a hyphen there. 6 hyphen, year hyphen,